Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about avoiding stagnation in our training and being willing to innovate and being willing to set aside dogma and just do what works. I have a history on here of originally I used to discuss a lot of very advanced concepts, use a lot of them, and I had a long period of time to where I adjusted and became very dogmatic in my thinking, very rigid in my thinking, as a lifter, as a teacher, as a coach, everything else. And what was the result? I stagnated for years. Now, I had a lot of other factors going on in my life that contributed. So, there was more to it. Things don't happen in a vacuum. But I finally had reached an epiphany to where I said, you know what? I really have to step back and look at what some of these top coaches in the world are doing, understand why it works, be willing to incorporate new things if they're reasonable and they make sense. Okay? And I did, and I've gotten a lot stronger with a lot less inflammation and a lot less pain. In other words, more strength, being less hurt up into my 40s. And then I started hitting a lot bigger numbers, right? I hit bigger numbers, started pulling over 600 again, squatting mid 500s again. But the point is that we have to be open to new ideas. And when I say open, that doesn't mean that we just do any stupid thing that comes along. And I think when we discuss these things, people will say, well, you'll make a video like this and then I'll suggest something and you don't think it's a good idea. It's like, yeah, because you're suggesting one thing instead of saying, hey, can I incorporate a dozen different things? You think that if you just have one single tool that you think works great, that everyone has to use that exact tool. Well, that's the exact opposite of what we're talking about. All right, because I've had that come up and people will suggest one exercise. They think this specific exercise that's usually not even that great of an exercise is the be-all, end-all. It's like it doesn't work that way. Now, I might say the box squat could be in that category, but the box squat, we have a dozen different modalities with it, right? It's not just a single exercise. It's a foundational exercise for a lot of lifters, a lot of lifting programs, including my own these days. But it's because of its versatility, right? It's a very versatile tool. But that's the thing that I'm talking about. When I came back to Conjugate again, because I'd used it years ago with varying success, and then I learned to make it work because I realized that the people teaching it were producing world-class level athletes in a wide variety of disciplines. And I realized that not only does it work, but I had to understand why it works. But I'm also always willing to take on new things, right? When leading experts propose things that they have been using in the field with their athletes, we have to be willing to look at these things. Okay? We have to be willing to look at these things and say, okay, can I make this work? Does it work? Why does it work? Does it make sense? Can I incorporate it into my larger program? And I don't care whether it's messing with conjugate stuff of rotating max effort lifts all the time, which I think is a very wise idea. But see, the thing, that's not dogmatic. People say, well, that's dogmatic. You're saying people need to max out. They need to do different max lifts all the time. Yeah, it'd be a real good idea if you did. But that's not dogmatic. Dogmatic is saying, I don't think it could work. Dogmatic is saying, oh, it's silly to rotate lifts often. They don't carry over. That can't work. And I'm not saying that certain things can't work. There's plenty of things that we could suggest that we know don't work. But when you see someone using a method and, I don't know, they produce 100 world record holders, you can't say that that method can't work. Okay, that's being absurd. That's being ludicrous. That's being unreasonable and probably shortchanging yourself, shortchanging your own lifters, your own clients. We can't think that way. We can't think that way. We have to be willing to look at these things and go, okay, does it work? Can it work? And if these people are so successful who are doing it, is it because of it or in spite of it? Well, you better figure that out. But when someone sees something that's clearly working and you say it can't work, that's the problem. And being open-minded about this stuff and using what works means that we look at all the tools available and figure out what the best tool is for any given job that we want to do. Okay, that means that we don't just say, oh, I'm just going to use this one tool and nothing else. And that's the problem. People get these confused. They'll say, well, you can't be open-minded and say you don't want to use this tool. Be like, no, I have that tool available. Thank you for recommending it. But I do want to see 12 world record holders use it first. That would be a good idea before we start taking it too seriously. But it looks like a good tool, and I don't care what it could be, your weighted pistol squats. It could be some modality, super slow reps. Well, you have to look at it and say, but I have another tool available that seems like it would do with that being used to do 0.5% better, so I'm going to use the better tool. Okay, that's not being dogmatic. That's assessing everything and saying, okay, I have 17 different tools available to me to achieve this one job. What's the best one right now for me to use? What do I think is going to be the best tool out of those 17? All right, what's the second best tool in case that stalls and it's not working? Can I incorporate both of those tools together? Can I take out of my 17 tools the first, second, and third best tool, and can I make them flow together cohesively? Can I do them concurrently? Can I do them sequentially? Can I use all three of them? Can tool number 2, is it going to stall and stagnate and I need to swap it out for the next tool further down the row at some point? That's what I'm talking about, looking at these different things. And we can't be closed-minded to things. A lot of stuff I've learned to incorporate again, rotating max effort lifts, bands, chains. I'm really big on bands, obviously. Most of you guys have figured that out. But I use heavy band work. It's not this, oh, we're going to throw a little bit of band tension. You guys see me doing 120, 150 pounds, 160 pounds of band tension on a lot of these lifts. Bands are phenomenal. Dynamic effort work. Really high rep training volume. Okay. Yeah, we can lift heavy. We need to lift fast, but we also need training volume. We need metabolic training to get as thick as possible. Different tools we use. What about conditioning? What about Metcon? All right, we need to use these things if we want to be stronger, more athletic, and be in shape. You know what? If you're in shape, you can do more work density, can't you, and recover from it faster. So maybe you should be doing some conditioning work. Another one I use a ton with myself and a lot of my lifters. How about doing ultra high band work to build connective tissue in certain areas where you need it for better inflammation control? Right? What if you have tendons that get inflamed easily when you do ideal training for them? Using these different tools, being willing to look at different things to adjust muscle balance. All right, looking at other stuff. I've had people bring up the Olympic lifts, and it's like, well, maybe that's something I'll start incorporating it, but not the Olympic lifts per se. It's looking at the explosive nature of the lower skill versions of them. Right? Because again, dogmatic would be, oh, if you're not doing the exact high technical version of the Olympic lift, you're not getting the benefits. Well, no, those are actually more difficult to implement. What if you just want the extra explosive training and benefits of the lower skill variations? Why can't you do high pulls? Why can't you do hang cleans? Why can't you do power cleans? Why do you have to do the high skill version? Well, you don't. You can incorporate the lesser versions into your training if you just want the extra explosive and athletic components of them. Yeah, maybe they are useful. Maybe they have a place in everyone's training. Isometrics. Well, that sounds, well, maybe isometrics have their place in training. Maybe they only work under certain conditions. Being willing to use all of these tools, being willing to say, what's my best thing? Should I be using a band here? Can I be using a barbell here? Would a machine work better? Is there a point where this works? Maybe there's situations in which this machine does play a role, even though machines are usually goofy. They shouldn't be the basis of your training. Even they have their role for a strength athlete, though, don't they? If they're implemented intelligently and in the flow of the larger training system. Okay? But that's the point. We can't be dogmatic. We can't rule out tools as a whole. We cannot rule out concepts as a whole. We can say something seems to work better than something else, but that doesn't mean the other thing is a bad tool. We cannot be rigid in our thinking. We have to make it flow. If we want to be the best and we want to be the strongest and the best that we can be with the lowest injury rates possible, we cannot be dogmatic and rigid in our thinking. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.